Now the story I always begin with is the story, well, that was gifted to me by a very prestigious storyteller named Johnny Moses. Since he gifted me the legend, I have to respect and say that it's from Johnny Moses. But what really it is for me is I'm actually seeing, and as I'm starting to see if your ears start to grow big. And if they don't grow big, the next legend won't be so big. Long ago, there was a very prestigious young chief. And whenever he talked with his heart. Whenever he listened with his mind. And when anyone was in need, he was there to give. Well, because of those beautiful characteristics, people from all over came to live with him in his longhouse. And as years went by, soon the longhouse became very cramped and crowded. So one evening, the chief raised his talking stick, and in a very soft voice he announced, "Let us all work together and we'll build the most beautiful longhouse in the Pacific Northwest." Well, the very next day, all the people working side by side started to build this longhouse. It took over 4 years to complete the longhouse. And it's been said that that longhouse was 1 whole mile long. And on the completion, the chief jumps up on the roof of the longhouse. He faces his way to the north and he bellows, "All that can hear me can come to my potlatch." He then faced his way to the east. "All that can hear me can come to my potlatch." He continued in all 4 directions until he lost his voice. That night, people from all over came to the potlatch. The women wore their beautiful button blankets. They were singing and dancing and having a wonderful time, when all of a sudden there was this strange knock on the longhouse wall. The chief pulled the blanket of the door open, and he looked out, and to his surprise, there had to have been at least 25 dogs standing outside the door of the longhouse. Now, back in those days, when the animals spoke, our people could understand what they said. And the dogs barked out, "Woof, woof, 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 woof." And the dog said, "Hey, you said all that could hear you can come to your potlatch. Where's the food?" Well, the chief, lost with words for a moment, finally came forward and said, "There's been a misunderstanding. Dogs don't come to a potlatch. It's just for people." And that dog retorted and said, "But you said all..." I know. No dogs can come to a potlatch. Well, Well, the dogs put their heads down and they walked to the edge of the woods, pondering over why they couldn't go to the potlatch, until one of the dogs perked up and said, "Hey, why don't we build our own longhouse and we'll have our own potlatch and it'll be just for dogs." Well, the dogs all working together, they built the cutest little longhouse. It was only about so tall and about as big as this room. On the completion, one of the dogs jumps up on the little roof of the longhouse. He too barks in all four directions until he too loses his bark. But as the sun was falling to the west, a very old elder dog got a very worried look on his face. The younger dogs came up quietly with their ears open and their mouths closed. The younger dogs go, "What are you worried about? We got a beautiful long house. There's going to be singing and dancing and all kinds of food." Well, the old elder dog spoke and said, "Being it's so rainy and muddy, my tail is really dirty. And if all the dogs come into the longhouse, they're going to be so happy that their tails will make the walls muddy and dirty." Well, that's a good concern, until one of the dogs perked up and said, "I have the answer. All we gotta do is we gotta put pegs on the outside wall of the longhouse, and we'll make it a rule. Any dog who comes into the longhouse, they have to pop their tail off and hang it on the peg." Problem solved. That night, dogs from all over came to the potlatch. They all popped their tails off, hung them on the pegs. They were singing and dancing and having a wonderful time when all of a sudden there was this strange knock on the longhouse wall. The dogs go, "This is the people. And these people, they're going to want to come to our potlatch, and we're going to tell them no people can come to our potlatch." Well, the dogs pulled the little blanket of the door open, and they looked out, and to their surprise, there had to have been at least 30 coyotes standing outside the door of the longhouse. And the coyotes bellowed out, "Wow! Wow!" And the coyotes said, "Hey, cuz, you said all that can hear you can come to the potlatch. Come on, cousin, let us see it." Well, the dogs looked at the coyotes and they go, "You have to think we're idiots. No coyotes can come to our potlatch. It is just for dogs." Well, the coyotes put their heads down and they walked to the edge of the woods, pondering over why they couldn't go to the potlatch. But they waited for about an hour, and the coyote snuck back, jumped up on the little roof of the longhouse, then quietly pulled back the cedar planks, and the coyotes yelled, "Fire!" Well, those dogs ran out of that longhouse. They grabbed any tail they could find and popped it on. And so, to this day, whenever you see two dogs meeting, they're still looking for their own tail. Nahashka.